Hello and welcome to Comic Book Yeti's Cryptid Creator Corner. I am one of your hosts, Jimmy Gasparo, and we have a full house today. And I'm going to try and keep things going because I have a little bit different of an episode than what we're used to. I have three hosts for another podcast, and it's a great podcast, and we're going to talk all about it. But I was worried a little bit. This is going to be like herding cats with three, or actually, including myself, four dominant podcasting personalities. So we'll see how we do. But we're going to be talking to the hosts of the Superfan Podcast, and please welcome David Hyde, Christian Gossett, and Kristen Simon. How's everybody doing today?
Great. So happy to be here. So nice to be a guest.
Yeah, I love it.
I love being a guest.
I feel like I can sit back and relax.
I know.
No, that means I have stuff to do. Don't do
Exactly.
that. Don't relax. You can't relax at all.
All right.
So well, let's talk about it. The Superfan Podcast. Um, eh, Let listeners know, because this is a little bit different than your typical comic book or even celebrity interview podcast. And certainly I was just promoting my graphic novel that came out a few weeks ago, Penny and the Yeti, and I think I was on like 28 different podcasts or YouTube shows, and a lot of them you're on, you talk about comics, you talk about the stuff that you're there to promote. Sometimes conversations can take a really fun and different angle. But I really like what you guys do for the Superfan Podcast, because you really get the creators that are on there to talk about the things like that make them um passionate, or that that they're passionate about. I was listening to the Erica Henderson one. I really like Erica's work, and it's funny because I just recently, this past year, started reading the Terry Pratchett Discworld novels as well, and so I was like, oh well, let me see what I saw that that's what Erica was talking about, and it was interesting because like Erica had just recently gotten into it as well and read like 17 of the, I don't know, 39 or 40 some books in a very short order. It was a fantastic episode. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, it's really kind of cool because originally when we started it, we were just gonna say, hey, you know what? Just talk about something that you're a really big fan of. Not your work. You're not promoting anything. You're just here to talk about what you yourself are a fan of. And along the way, we discovered that the things that they're a fan of are really what fills their creative well. It's what gives them the passion to do what they do. And Erica Henderson in particular is a perfect example of, things that, I had never read. I never, I knew who, of course, Terry Pratchett was, but um it really makes you want to read those books, especially because you can jump in anywhere and you find out all these things that these guests are into. And it really, you kind of catch on to their fandom and you're like, man, I want to check that out now. I want to listen to Roland S. Howard. I want to, watch MASH, you know,
Do some gardening.
yeah, and do some gardening, and it's really kind of
Be
funny.
nicer to my dog.
It's just so infectious. They're so passionate.
Totally.
Yeah. So, it's really interesting. I think we're onto something personally.
Oh no, I definitely think you are. What do you think has been the most surprising thing, not necessarily for you to find out about like a creator in terms of a particular subject, but when somebody comes on and they are getting to talk about something that they love, has there been any like surprising discoveries for the three of you in talking to these creators?
What I love is every one of them has this kind of epiphany on the show. Every one of them's like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. They have this moment where they're like, I might have done this because of that all along. And that's amazing. It's amazing to me. And I love that moment. There was a huge one with Stephan Frank. Now, this was not one of the proper episodes. We do several episodes at conventions as well. In fact, this weekend at Comic-Con Revolution, we're doing a Dave Johnson episode. And we did Stephan Frank was that WonderCon or was that
That was Comic-Con Revolution
Comic-Con Revolution
this
as well?
last year, yeah.
And Stefan, his subject was UFOs. And he didn't realize like that. He's like, oh, huh. my company's name is UFO.
Oh,
Remember?
it's like Dark Planet.
Dark Planet.
Yeah.
Dark Planet. It was like it's all connected.
It was all connected. And he
It
didn't even realize it.
Didn't even realize it.
Didn't put it together.
Oh,
Yeah. It was
when
like
you find out when those things happen in an interview, they're incredible. There's an interview that I love when Steven Spielberg was on Inside the Actors Studio with James Lipton, and they kind of seemingly has like a little bit of a revelation about Close Encounters of the Third Kind and the characters in it, and it's just kind of amazing to watch. Even somebody who had done so many interviews, as Spielberg, kind of come to a bit of an epiphany about his own work when when asked particular questions about choices or things that he loved that influenced his work. So
Yeah.
yeah, those things are amazing, and you really have a podcast that's kind of set up to to dig into that, because you're not giving them the subject matter. They're coming to you with something that they really want to talk about. And I do love how everybody is kind of like, in terms of the three of you, are very, open to it in terms of like trying to find out more about it, or you're not afraid to let the guest kind of dictate where the conversation goes if it's a topic like you're not, maybe not super familiar, because I don't think any of you had really read the Terry Pratchett novels, to bring up the Erica Henderson one. And you were I think sometimes as like hosts, we worry that we have to be like the most knowledgeable in the room and controlling everything, and it's really refreshing to hear folks like, no, tell me about the thing that you love and why you love it. And I really think it's a great approach.
Yeah, I think what's really been rewarding is we're getting to talk to some of the most creative and interesting people in comics, and then letting them take a deep breath. And they've done a lot of interviews. Like, you talked about all of the interviews you did to promote your book a few weeks ago, right? And some of these
Yeah.
creators have done hundreds of interviews over dozens of years, and maybe they prefer not to do another interview right now until you say, hey, this is going to be totally different. This is a timeout conversation. And to me, one of the most rewarding parts sometimes happens like before we even all go to record, is just that initial response where it took Kelly Sue DeConnick several weeks to come up with the topic of Alan Alda, which seems odd since she has knuckle tattoos with Alan Alda's name. It's like the answer was there the whole time, but you're dealing with these really creative people, but you're asking to think about their process or like just their excitement in a different way, and so they have to take a minute, and that to me is the joy of it.
That is such a great point about the Alan. I mean, that is literally written on her knuckles, and she wasn't sure what to talk about, right? And that says it all. And the fact she's like, oh yeah, that's what I should talk about. This thing I put on my epidermis.
That literally influenced her whole life.
Yeah, yeah. And it was great. And once you do get her talking about it, again, there's these revelations of, and here's what I know about it, and here's why I'm fascinated by it. And there's always this several wonderful connections to what they do, why they do it. And that's what was really fascinating for us is, we all love art. David's collection is breathtaking. Chris's has an entire spinner rack of books that she did. She was the first editor to work with. Let's do a list.
No, we're not
Right. All right. So Chris is awesome, and she's stealth about it. But we love to know, what is it that when you're sitting there as a creator and you have to decide, will my story go left? Will my story go right? Will it go up? Will it go down? Will I go light? Will I go grim? What is it that's going to make you make that decision? What is it that you're longing for as a creator that you're going to put into your characters at that moment? And that's what's been fun for me, is listening to that level of mechanism, and it disarms them so much, which is just a blast.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's really cool to see like into the thought process, and you don't even know it. It's like I mean, some of them are obvious, like Matt Fractions, it's kind of obvious at some point where you're like, oh, okay, spy. He's into spy novels, obviously. And Metkin, sorry,
Metkin,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it just kind of like fits together in a very obvious way. But some of them, like Marjorie Liu, like with the gardening, not so obvious, but when you hear it, it clicks. You're like, oh my God, yeah. So it's very fascinating to see how all of it fits together afterwards,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and once you know this about them, you can go back into their work and you can see it, and you can just rediscover their work in fun ways.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's what I really think is the cool thing when you learn something new about a creator because and David, you said it in terms of, I was just talking about a number of interviews over a few weeks, but some of these creators have been in comics for years and maybe have had multiple projects that they're trying to promote or been interviewed at conventions. And when I do find out something interesting about a creator or something I didn't know before or something that they loved, it does, have a tendency to make me look to reinterpret the work or kind of see it through that lens or think about it and keeping that thing in mind, whatever it is, whether or not it's Terry Pratchett or Alan Alda or game training your dog, which was another topic. It really is kind of, fascinating. Has there in doing this both for the podcast and at conventions, has there ever been anything that a topic that really surprised you that a creator said, "Oh, this is the thing I really wanna talk about," and, um, is there anything that really stands out? And there doesn't have to be, I was just
Yeah,
curious.
no, I'm sure there's
Because
several. I was trying to choose one,
yeah.
because there's like so many. Um,
Well, I'll buy them time for a second and give you
please
a
do.
non-answer, which will set up their answers possibly, and
You, David.
it needs to come. I think um, season 2 ended up being very different from season 1 in terms of the kind of things that people talked about. So, talking about a major writer like Stephen King or a major musician like Billy Joel, like we kind of had a sense of how that conversation was going to play out. But in many ways, the gardening episode with Marjorie Liu is the beginning of season 2 because it's like we're going to talk about a general love that is not as specific of what book did you read when or how many times did you see them in concert, but how does this act, just being a gardener, inform who it is that you are every day and how it brings you happiness. And that made us have to pivot in terms of the kind of questions that we wanted to ask. All right, I turn it over to you guys. Hopefully, my vamping gave you time to come up with an answer.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. And that, I loved Monstrous before I knew who Marjorie was. And in Monstrous, there's this sense of legacy. There's this sense that the story goes back a long time. Like Marjorie's characters, they have a history, and that history is like hanging over every frame. So when she told us, for example, that she is nurturing this plant,
Amaryllis.
this
Yeah.
amaryllis in her family for how long?
It's been generations.
Generations. I was like, "Oh my gosh, there it is," So that was
She puts a
surprising.
piece of herself into every story she writes.
Yeah.
It was very telling.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, but also like, who knew Alan Alda? Like that was a weird.
And I lo and I loved it. Yeah, that was surprising as hell. Not so much for me because I'm the oldest of the three of
For
us.
you, it was.
So for me,
Yeah.
I loved Alan Alda as well, and I remember the MASH days, and I remember when he was like the penultimate, TV star. When basically every casting office in town was like, "I need an Alan Alda. Get me an Alan Alda. Where's Alan? I need a low
Mhm.
rent Alan Alda." And that was the time, and he was winning Emmys, and it was nobody missed that show week after week after year. So that I got that.
Yeah. I think the game-based dog training was a little like
Mm.
out of left field too. I don't think anybody expected Elsa to like come out with that. I think, most people think it's like a fandom is going to be like either a band, a singer, an author,
Yeah,
like some kind of fandom like that of like what you're really passionate about. And game-based dog training, I mean,
so great.
that's a
And she was so passionate
she
about
really
it.
was.
And that was great because that's not just someone has made a thing and I appreciate this thing in a way that matters to me. There are I have this living creature in my world and I want to give it the best life possible. And I refuse to accept the idea that this is a dumb animal. I
Yeah.
absolutely refuse that concept.
Yeah, it was like, there's cat people, there's dog people. I gravitate towards dog people at parties, and this is who like my circle is, and this is like my personality. Like it was very, Yeah, it was
Paul Pope was a surprise.
informing.
Paul Pope's was a surprise. That was
Really?
yeah.
I thought that was very him.
I mean, it was for me though, because I didn't know who Roland Howard was.
Yeah.
And I knew Vim Vendors, and I knew that scene. I had lived downtown, in the LA art scene for a while in the 90s. And so that's definitely where, like, one of the guys that lived there was this major punk photographer. He had
You weren't really familiar with like who Paul Pope was as a person either, right?
right. Yeah, it's
So,
true. It's
yeah.
true.
Because I
Sorry,
feel like you
sorry,
know
Paul.
Paul Pope, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
And I do think I agree with Gossett. I was gonna go to Paul Pope and the Roland S. Howard episode only because like that was the first time that none of us had listened to the song by
Mm.
someone, like a song at all,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And so it is both very Paul Pope, but then we were really reliant on Paul, who was an amazing tour guide for us. Like he made a Spotify playlist and sent it our way and was just, kept sending notes after the show, like, oh, hey, I keep thinking about this. And again, is allowing yourself to get swept up in somebody else's enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything like that while doing this podcast that you discovered that you're like, oh, I'm gonna get into this a little bit now?
Definitely the Terry Pratchett books.
Yeah. I want to read those
Yeah.
books so bad. Like she should be. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a big one.
She could get on a train and like sell Terry Pratchett like to everybody.
For sure.
They should do a whistle stop tour.
Yeah. They are. I've listened to a few, and because I don't have too much time to like read anymore, so I did the past few years get into audiobooks, and I do like the audiobooks of the Pratchett. I think Christian, you're a little what one of you, Christian or David, were a little down on audiobooks, I think, during the podcast.
Yeah. That was me.
Okay.
I'm like, I need to read it. And it's I guess this is weird too. Like I love everybody loves the Stephen Fry Harry Potters, but I love the other guy, Jim Dale. I love the Jim Dale Harry Potters as far as audiobooks are concerned. And everyone's like, oh man, Stephen Fry. I'm like, he's fine. I'm not gonna disrespect Stephen Fry. He's a wonderful man. But that Jim Dale stuff, I didn't anyway. So yeah, I love to read. I make time to read. It's hard to do. No shade at all. It is so hard. Reading time is so hard because of this demonic thing. It,
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
steals
the
your brain.
phone. Yeah,
Steals your brain.
it is.
It-
It is hard. I love to read. Since I was a kid, I was, a voracious reader, and but it is hard to make time. So a couple of years ago, I thought I'd give audiobooks a try in order to force myself to. I still have a difficult time saying I read the book though if I listen to it. But
Right? That's how you know you're a
Um,
book person. Where you're like, well, I mean, I listened to it. You always have to say that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I listened to it. No.
I do. I can't. I
Yeah.
can't help it. But I had
Oh.
a goal last year to at least like listen to like 50 books. So and because I
Pretty
never
cool.
could have read. I never could have made the time to read 50 books. But driving to and from work, and
Yeah.
I
Did you
I
do
was
it?
able to. I was able to knock them out, and I started some of the Discworld books. They are real. Erica's right. They're really great. They're really funny.
And I'd like to add a caveat. So since then, I have listened to some audiobooks. And okay, again, super fan, right? I'm like, okay, well, you know what, Mr. Read all the time. Let's try some audiobooks. And what I loved about it was that it's like an adaptation, like any adaptation, right? It's a whole different quality you get. Like I would love to hear Alan Moore read any of his books, right? That would be so great.
Oh yeah.
He
I
doesn't do
agree.
audiobooks, but I wish he would because that would be a singular experience, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
both are cool, and if you don't have time to read, then the audiobook is at least you're getting it in some form.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have the three of you thought about what have, have the three of you thought about what you would talk about if you were on your own podcast?
So we'll start with David.
Yes. Go ahead, David.
Well, I'm gonna skip that question for a second. Go back to what we were talking about, just because it's too fun.
David, this is my show. David,
Yeah, I'm
this
gonna
is bullshit.
knock
This is
this
bullshit. I went out on a limb for you, David. You're not respecting me. No, go ahead.
So you asked if there were new things that we became fans of from the show, and I would say that the Erica episode really helped me commit to not a new fandom, but just that commitment to reading. And I decided I was going to read one classic book. I think time and space are getting a little blurry these days, but I think it was after that episode that I was like, all right, I'm going to commit to 12 classic books over the course of the year. So I will read more than that, but I also like to read like fun pulpy books. This was like the idea of like, let's get to some of the books I always meant to read that I've owned for years that I kept putting off that experience. And then audiobooks has definitely allowed me to read more. I still definitely had the caveat, but it is sometimes so rewarding, especially I find if the novelist reads it and is a good reader. So years ago, I got to work with Victor Laval, um, and Victor's big book, The Changeling, uh, is an amazing audiobook, and Vic reads it. And I had gone to so many of his readings. It was like just having story time with him, right? It didn't feel like an audiobook because he knew when to breathe. He knew when to do the turn page in a way that like an actor who may or may not be more professional would not necessarily feel the rhythm of the book as he did as a novelist.
Hmm.
But if
Oh,
I were
that's
to go on a
awesome.
podcast, I would probably talk about baseball. Um, I think
Oh, okay.
what this podcast has made me think about is like the what does it really mean to be a fan? And like when can you walk away from being a fan? Because there's something like if you're really a fan of something, there's something a little dark about it. You might end up with knuckle tattoos, or you might have like a terrible baseball team and you can't not watch them, right? You can't, and that's part of being a fan. You know, you're like, oh, I love this series. I haven't loved it in a while, but I can't stop. You know, or people have bought like X-Men for 20 years. And they're like, I can't stop now. Um, Baseball for me is the thing I can't stop.
Hmm.
I probably should. How about you guys?
No, I know I get that about baseball. Or I mean, I'm in Delaware, but I grew up in Delaware County or Delco, right outside of Philly. So I've been a lifelong Phillies and Eagles fan. And the kids today don't know how good they have it because there were some tough years in the '80s with after they were in the World Series in uh, I guess '80. But yeah, so how about you, Kristen or Christian? Who wants to go first?
I'm gonna guess that yours is gonna be uh Kurosawa.
Yeah, that is. I would do Kurosawa. It's tough not to do silent movies in general, but I I love Kurosawa so much, and I think people know him too, so I think it'd be more approachable. Like silent movies is so esoteric. There's so few people that really love can deal with them, but I do love them. But Kurosawa is like the perfect. His visual storytelling is owes so much to the silent techniques, and there's as far as people that really are still doing silent film or carried silent film forward, it's Kurosawa, Walt Disney, and of course Alan Dwan and King Vidor. But see, immediately it gets super esoteric. You're like, "Oh, blah 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 physics." Um, but I want to say, speaking of Philadelphia, I can't believe Lindros never got a cup. Just real quick, I can't believe
Uh,
Lindros never got one, man.
yeah, yeah,
Sorry about
we
that.
can't either. No, it's
Right?
it's all right.
Sorry about
As
that.
the yeah, as
Yeah,
the as the Hurricanes recently swept the Flyers. Yeah, the Flyers are out now, but yeah, yeah, big Eric
long
Lindros
suffering Kings
fan.
fan here as well. So I'm right. Not too,
Okay.
you guys have more cups than we do. Um, but yeah, it would be Kurosawa,
Mhm.
Akira Kurosawa for me because I just there's just so much poetry in every frame, and he's a painter and a poet, and there's this wonderful story about when before he directed, he was a art department guy, and that's a part of filmmaking that I've made as well. And art department is its own thing, and you have to be obsessed, kind of like comic book artists. But check this out. So they're on set. The next day they've just made this set and for this movie back in Japan in the early 50s. And Kurosawa is the one. He's the historian. He remembers. He looks at the set. It's beautiful. Everybody's like, okay, cool. We're exhausted. We did this thing. There's never enough time. There's never enough money. And and Kurosawa remembers. Young Kurosawa's like, you guys, it's a snowstorm. And they're like, no. Turns out the historical fiction that they were making was very, very like they were super into the fact that we're telling that story that all of Japan knows. It's a very famous part of our history, our martial history, and we're telling that story. And we're very proud of it. And they're about to mess up because there was this famous snowstorm that was integral to the battle, and their set had no snow whatsoever. So they had no time at all. And they by the time they were shooting, by the time everybody showed up, they had been working all night long to make sure that there was enough fake snow that it looked historically accurate. And I love that. As Chris knows, as the editor of my book, Cthulhu Town, Chris knows how obsessed I am with every detail. So yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yep. So, I
What
mean,
what would you do?
Kristen?
I don't know. What do you think I would do?
Oh wow. I mean, okay, so
Because I knew David was going to pick baseball, and I knew you were going to pick Kurosawa. So, what do you think I would do?
David, do you have a guess?
I'm going to say Skeletor.
So good. I wish I had said that now. That's such a good guess.
Masters of the Universe.
You kind of would be a Skeletor, yeah.
Is that your guess?
Oh, I mean, okay, so David made his guess. Do you have an answer?
I mean, maybe.
Okay. Let's see. Skeletor, so good. I feel like I'm on Family Feud, and that guy got the number one answer. What would it be? I mean, we've already done gardening. I mean, you'd love to garden.
I'm like, how well do my co-hosts know me?
You love your dog. You love your dog
is a fun
named
game.
Skeletor. Your dog named Skeletor, by the way. You love Chicago. You love hamburgers. There's so many things. You're a very well-rounded person.
Mhm.
So
So you're saying you don't know?
yeah, totally.
Okay. I would actually probably talk about whiskey.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Oh wow. Okay.
I was literally about to say whiskey, but I didn't want to
Yeah.
interrupt you. But I
Uh-huh.
have to say, I would have thought whiskey would be like number 4 on Family Feud.
Really?
Yeah.
4, huh?
Marjorie Liu / gardening, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't have like doubled up though. I would have let Marjorie have her gardening.
Right.
Otherwise, I probably would have picked gardening
Mm.
because I do love gardening. So, that's why Marjorie and I got along so well. But yeah.
That was. I love that part where you guys ran away with that episode a little bit.
We
I
did.
loved it. I was like, yeah, tell me more.
Yeah. Yeah, we totally
And-
did. We totally did.
As you should have, right? Because you knew this. You knew the subject. I mean, that's how it should have gone.
Yeah.
If we get a
So
baseball,
whiskey would be
is-
yours?
I think so. Yeah, I think whiskey. Yeah, I've been a big fan of whiskey for years. Like I have my favorites. I go rye, and then I'm on the hunt. Like I've gone from like top to bottom, and I have ratings, and I love to try new ones that I've never tried, and I've gone all the way from. I mean, I've tried some really expensive ones that are just amazing. So yeah. I think I'd
Oh, that's
I'd
awesome.
do whiskey. Yeah. You bought me like $100 shot once.
didn't
Yeah.
I? Didn't I though? What a
Yeah,
guy!
you did.
What a guy!
Yeah.
Yeah. What a guy. That's a lot. That's a lot for one shot.
It was
a
a
lot.
celebration. There was
Was.
some really cool thing that happened. So I was like,
I don't even remember what that cool thing was.
me either. Me either. It was awesome.
But you remember the whiskey. You remember the whiskey.
And
so-
that's what like overshadowed whatever that cool thing was. So
Celebration.
Jimmy, what about you?
No. What would I pick if I
Yeah.
was on?
Yeah.
Great question. I think I would try and find something that that I'm passionate about. That's maybe unique. Like I like some of the fandoms that I'm into. Like not just comic stuff, but like loving something like Star Wars or like typical fandom type of things. But yeah, that is a good question. I'm also trying to think of something that I feel I am knowledgeable about that I really
Okay.
like
I'm
to
glad-
talk about.
I'm glad you bring that up because this is something that we told every guest this. Thank you for getting there, Jimmy, because several guests were like, okay, but I love this thing, but I don't feel like an expert on it. And we're like, dude, that does not matter. The passion is what counts. Like, we don't care that we're not looking for encyclopedias. We're not looking, anybody could look that up on, right? We're looking for why you like this thing. And so I really enjoyed saying that to each guest. Like, don't worry about what you know or what you don't know about it. just tell us why it matters to you. And I think that was really resonant throughout both seasons.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, that's a
sometimes
good.
those
It's tough. It's tough though because I'm trying to think of the things that I love and am passionate about. You know, I love sandwiches, but would I want to do a whole episode just about different
Yeah, you
sandwiches? I
would?
could. I
yeah,
I could
Right.
talk. I could talk about sandwiches for hours and
Oh my God.
hours.
See, now we have to do that
you know,
episode.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Let's just take over
um,
Jimmy's
I know
show.
I know
and let's
2
just-
people who would do
yeah,
sandwiches. I know 2 different people who
yeah.
would absolutely do
Okay, real
sandwiches.
quick though,
Yeah.
like some what's the first sandwich that comes to mind when you talk about sandwiches?
Uh, being from this area, like it's hard to not talk about cheesesteaks, and
Sure.
Yeah.
my favorite cheesesteak is from a place just in Delaware, not even in Philly, but they have a sandwich called a Kevin's Original, which is a chicken cheesesteak with extra black pepper, fried onions, and mayonnaise, and it is phenomenal.
Hungry.
My other favorite is probably the every time I go to a Philly. Speaking of baseball, every time I go to a game at Citizens Bank Park for the Phillies, the first thing I do is go to the Tony Luke's at the ballpark and get their pork Italiano with sharp provolone and broccoli rabe, and I sit there and eat it in like 20 seconds. I mean, it's a big, like it's on a 10-inch hoagie roll,
So hungry
and you're just grease is just dripping down your arms. I stand. I don't even go back to my seat. I don't even make it out of the Tony Luke's line. That's how much I love that sandwich.
I love it.
That's
Um,
amazing.
I
Yeah,
love
that's
it.
like Ray Anthony Hyde was on one of our live shows.
Yeah.
He talked about being a grill master. That was his passion, being a grill
oh,
master. Yep, barbecue.
that's
I was
awesome.
I was
Yeah.
starving then too.
Yeah.
I know. That was a good one. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could talk about different sandwiches, I think, for a
Absolutely.
while. Oh, but
Sandwich.
Christian, you mentioned silent films, and something that I never get to talk about is I am such a huge fan of Buster Keaton. I
Mm.
had a teacher in high school, and whenever we had downtime, he taught U.S. history. But whenever we had downtime, he would put on like a Buster Keaton film, and I'd never heard of Buster. I mean, I never heard of Buster Keaton at that point in high school. I mean, I'd heard
Yeah.
of Chaplin and but I just fell in love with Buster Keaton's films, and then like some of the stunts that he would do and the techniques that he would employ that I would see in later gags that like the Three Stooges or stuff would do that Buster Keaton originated, and then to see a film like The General, and yeah, I just don't. It's like every once in a while it might come up, but I never get to talk about how much I love Buster Keaton films and how I still don't think he ever got the credit he deserved for some of the stuff that he did, and just the comedy of his movies and the characters that he created.
Yeah, Buster Keaton. I mean, it's one of the things I miss when I go to movies these days is the danger act, right? Old movies, silent movies were circus-like in that you had a Buster Keaton flying around and falling down a waterfall and getting out from a moving locomotive in the nick of
Yeah.
time, right? Just sitting there as the train, like they were just putting themselves on the line. There's very few people that know how important that is to cinema. Tom Cruise is one of them. The guy's climbing all over a
Yeah.
biplane, right? I mean, that's amazing footage. I love that scene just because it's so silent film, right? It's like here's Tom Cruise
Oh,
on
it
a plane,
is. Yeah.
right?
Tom
And
Cruise and Chris McQuarrie are probably the closest we have to that today
Jim
in terms
Cameron
of
when he
the
sent in
movies.
Terminator 2, Jim Cameron in Terminator 2 when he sent that helicopter under the overpass. I mean, that
Oh
was
yeah.
real. That was real stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And, I just miss that in cinema. You do Ben-Hur in the 50s and it's dangerous. You do Ben-Hur now and it's all green screen. So, and we know it is, you know. I think that's one of the things that was impressive about the Marvel movies is they got me to believe a lot of the time emotionally that they got me so emotionally invested that I didn't mind that, the action was not the danger act that Buster Keaton represents and that tradition. But yeah, no, I love Buster Keaton. I can't I couldn't. You and I, if I'm ever in Philly, we're having sandwiches and Buster Keaton movies.
Absolutely. I'll rent out a theater and we'll put some films on and get some sandwiches. I'll
That would
figure
be
it
a
out.
blast. That would be a blast. Oh my gosh.
I'm just gonna say you should probably watch The Cook, the 1918 Buster Keaton movie.
The Cook.
Where
Oh,
he
okay.
Mhm.
Thank you,
But
David's
sandwiches
programming
eat-
for us.
I was moving to the other screen, Googling away Buster Keaton sandwich. It'll bring your loves together, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Oh. Have you seen that?
I've not
Fantastic.
seen that one.
No.
No, I got to see
Yeah.
that one. Thanks, David. That's one I missed.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
But there's so many.
There are. With the different backgrounds that the three of you have, I mean, David with, I mean, Superfan Promotions, I think you started that in 2013, and the different things you've done with Superfan Promotions. Christian, your work as a writer and an artist, and and Kristen, you've been an editor and done so many amazing things, starting really bringing so many different creators to the different publishers that you've worked for over the years and shepherding some like amazing comic books. What do you think about your careers has like best prepared you for like coming together and doing this podcast?
That's a good question.
That's a very good question. I think, David, like you have a really good take on this because you were the one that kind of, thought about our backgrounds the most and how you wanted to put it all together. So,
Yeah, I think the sort of the obvious answer leading into we did a lot of pre-production before the show it started. We like met almost every week for an entire year before recording an episode and just like brainstorming, and sometimes they were like great ideas that we either didn't write down or just didn't hold together. Having Gossett's like visual sensibility um helped inform not only like how the show would be marketed, but like the vibe that we wanted to have, right? Um, Chris, you're like so good at like pulling story out of people. And so that was really helpful in terms of the actual conversations. And then I'm used to getting people to do things they don't want to do, like interviews. And so that was helpful here. Um, but I would say, like, having done 2 seasons, those things were helpful kind of in the prep mode. Um, Largely what works about the show is just our all of our curiosity, and excitement to get people to share what it is that they love, which isn't really baked into any of our, like, actual day-to-day career choices per se.
yeah, I think it's the three of us have a really good chemistry, which we noticed very early on. And so that was really, I think, the driving factor is that when we were together, we thought about, we're at a party, we're at David's house, and we're talking to people, we know, pretty high level people. And so we thought, we want to bring the general audience into this fold. We want them to have the same conversations we're having, because that's pretty much what every fan wants. They want that access. And so how can we bring them that access? And this is how that was born. It was like, these are the kind of conversations that you'd have, of like, what do you love? Let's talk about what you love, and not your books, because we're not talking about that stuff. We're
There's other places people can go for that.
yeah, there's other places you can go
And they
for
do a
that
great
stuff.
job.
Yeah, this is the people behind, the books. So, yeah, and that was, I think, kind of how the backgrounds came together of that. So that's how we did it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I do think it's a very unique approach. It does feel you guys do have a great chemistry, and it does feel like you're just kind of being a fly on a wall at a party, listen to folks like talk about the different stuff that they love. That's what's really great about it, getting that feeling. Which is nice. One of the good. I mean, it could be a bad thing, but one of the good things about this day and age, with social media is like fans can have a lot of contact or access with the folks making the book, which, like I said, it can be bad, but there, there is some good to it as, for respectful fans. But I think you guys are really doing something unique. And yeah, I like I said, I listened to the Erica Henderson one. I can't wait to get through some of the other ones. I have to hear the Kelly Sue DeConnick Alan Alda one now though. But I think that's going to be next on my next on my list
It's a good
to
one.
go through.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
one.
It's a good one. It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Really.
Mhm.
Is there how far how far out do you like record these? Do you have some already in the can ready to go, some coming up that you want to let listeners know about, or
We are now officially on hiatus, which is
okay.
yeah, we all uh, wear many hats and have been very, very busy. And it takes a long time. We have an amazing editor, Bryant Dillon of Fanbase Press.
Bryant Dillon, Fanbase Press.
Woo! Makes us sound good each and every week. But it's a long arc to do these between scheduling, doing the research, and just making everybody's schedule line up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
And
it's really
it's
tough.
all of our it's David's first podcast, right? It's my first podcast.
Yeah,
And it's not your first podcast.
No.
You're the veteran.
it's my second one.
Which that's why we make her do all the work. Well, like, Chris, you do it.
Yeah, but it's different though, because this one's like the first one. I don't even know if I can count because it was just like, oh, get together every Saturday and talk live, and so this is much more sophisticated. Like we record ahead of time, we edit, we have a theme song. Like we're really put together on this one, and it's just a lot of care, that we put into this. It's not, we're not fly by night here, and I
Right.
think what we're doing these episodes and we record them all very much ahead of time, and a lot goes into it, and then all of them are done before we even release the first one of the season, and so we really have to bank them because we want to be sure that they can all be released.
And we compare notes on
Yeah.
each guest. And like, I remember it's so funny. We're like, okay, man, so Paul Pope, dude, have you heard of this guy? No, I haven't heard of this guy. It was so funny. Our reaction is kind of a fun moment in every show when we're like, what, have you heard of that? And there's usually one of us is like, oh, I got this. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, half of us have heard of what they're talking about, and the other half hasn't.
Right,
I don't
that's
think
right.
any of us knew who Roland Howard was.
No, no.
That was one of the ones where we were.
And there's usually one of us is, at least one of us is like, I have no clue.
Yeah.
Or I'm not really even quite.
Yeah, we have to do some research on the subjects
Yeah.
for sure.
I was a huge Billy
Yeah.
Joel fan too, so it was fun.
Yeah.
With the first episode with Guggenheim was really fun for me because and it was. I hope that Mark has seen David. Next time you talk to Mark, will you ask him if he has seen Step Brothers yet?
I will. We should get a t-shirt.
The Catalina wine mixer. He had no idea what that was. I was like so surprised.
Jimmy, have you seen
Really?
Step Brothers?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Did we just become best friends?
Right?
Yep.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I asked him, I'm like, okay, Billy Joel, Catalina Wine Mixer. And he's like, I haven't seen it. I'm like, oh.
I mean, I'm not going to say that we shamed Mark Guggenheim, but I feel like we shamed Mark
I
Guggenheim.
felt terrible about it too. I was like, damn it, I'm a bad host. I'm like saving the guest.
It happens. Look, I'm sure it wasn't intentional.
No, it was not.
I have an episode of this podcast coming out next week where I feel like I unintentionally shamed Dan Waters because he's living in the US now, but Dan's from, London. And I said, "Oh, I really like Batman Dark Patterns." I said, but I said you can take the writer out of London, but I guess you can't take London out of the writer because you called the Gotham old people pensioners. And I just meant it as like, we don't use that word here, like ha ha ha. And I instantly felt like I made him feel bad that like a Britishism slipped through the cracks. And I was like, I didn't mean it like that at all. I thought it was charming. I don't know. Like, can we start again? So I really like your writing, Dan. Yeah, so it happens.
Yeah, totally.
Who was your editor?
Oh my God. He still hears that in the night. Pensioners. Purple Prose.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so
He's
I
mine.
didn't mean anything by it.
Yeah,
I
you
just-
don't. It's terrible, right? It eats you up.
So
does. We're just trying to have a good time. We're
You
just trying
know,
to talk
I
about
mean,
stuff
right?
we're all
We
friends
can't
here.
be
and have
perfect.
Were you able
and have.
to? Did you feel like you got to pull the conversation back to where you wanted it to go?
I think so. Fingers crossed. Um, we'll see. Well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean,
Maybe you
David
can edit
pointed
it
out.
out. We
Like,
did something. I had a terrible thing that we just
yeah.
edited out. I was like, you know what? That is just not making it to the episode. I'm not even going to say what it was. I'm going to say that is not going in the episode. That is dumb. That's me being
That's the
dumb.
power that we have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
editing, man. Editing.
I still, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, Byron is, if Byron is Byron O'Neill's the editor in chief of Comic Book Eddie. He's the other host, but we don't host episodes together. We just kind of each do our own thing. And so, Byron wanted to start this podcast, and I was like, yeah, I guess I'll help out. And now it's been like, I don't know, however many episodes, but I just like to talk, and I just try and have a good time and
Yeah.
let people talk about what they want to talk about.
I'm having a good
promote their
time. Are you
stuff.
having a good time?
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is
Thanks everybody. I
totally.
appreciate it. Um, I would be remiss, Christian. My brother would be very mad at me. My brother Bobby, who I shout out every episode because Bobby listens to every episode. He's the Cryptid Creator Corner #1's most dedicated fan.
I love it.
My younger brother, who's old. He's I always say like I say my younger brother rather than my little brother because I mean he's 42. He's a grown man, but he does listen to all my episodes.
Aw.
So he is the biggest Darth Maul fan that I know. I mean, huge. He like he's been Darth Maul on Halloween as a fully grown adult, and so I feel like for him, I have to ask about your involvement with that
You have to.
character and the design of the lightsaber because
Ah,
he
it's
would
my,
he
You
would be
do.
very upset.
it's my pleasure. And hello, Bobby. And I'm very close with my younger brother as well. And it took me forever to stop calling him my little brother. He's a grown man as well. Hey, Adam. And yeah, the lightsaber, I was in my early 20s and I got this job thanks to my buddy Frank Gomez, two North Hollywood kids, just trying to make it in comics. And Frank was so good. He got a job working with Tom Veitch on a DC book called Commandy. They were redoing Commandy. Tom was writing. Frank got the assignment. And Tom, during Commandy, was hired to do Tales of the Jedi by Dark Horse, which was a very licensor-heavy job, right? Obviously. And so, licensors just leaning on you like, get this right, do this, do that at every step of the way. Because they knew at Lucasfilm Licensing that they were going to start doing the prequels. And so things got intense. It had been kind of quiet. Nobody thought there were going to be more Star Wars after Jedi, right? That's just not. There were already 3 movies. That was, 3 sequels. That's plenty. Now let's just move into licensing. Tim Zahn does some great stuff. Cam Kennedy, bless him, did some great stuff with Tom. But it was like for a long time, Star Wars was just that was the thing. It was awesome, but it's it's on VHS now. It's fine. It's not going to be new movies. But then the early 90s happened and they decided they're going to do the prequels. And that's the world in which we entered. And so Frank said, hey, I know a guy who loves Star Wars, and he allowed me to send Tom my work. I did this very intense portfolio piece. Everybody was doing it. Everybody was doing this portfolio piece, the same 3 pages. And they were very classic Star Wars type stuff. But so I got the job, and they said, listen, George is not wanting to be, when you're writing the prequels, he was bound by the licensing, and he didn't expect that, frankly. Right. He was like, what do you mean I have to call it Coruscant? Right. So he's like, okay, so listen, I don't want new stuff. I'm already having to deal with all this old stuff. I'm putting things in placeholders, like whatever if the licensing has established what that is, that, right? And so he didn't want any more stuff coming down on him. So he sent us as Tales of the Jedi 4,000 years before the time of Luke Skywalker. And I was like, okay, cool. Is there any reference for that? Or is there a Bible? And they were like, no, you make it up. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? I get to be in my early 20s and you've given me a blank slate in the Star Wars galaxy. You're literally giving me my own corner of the Star Wars galaxy in my early 20s. I saw Star Wars at the Grauman's Chinese Theater on opening day. My dad my dad took my brother and I out of school. Well, I begged him, don't let me, Dad, I want to go to school. I want to go see the Star Wars movie. And he's like, okay, fine. He just kept, and so Dad took us to the Chinese theater in Hollywood, cut the line, got us in a very near. My pop's from Washington Heights, so he's like, this line ain't for me. This line is for you people. This line ain't for me. Not me and my kids. We're gonna get into this show. So we get into the show because that was just Dad, and blown away like everybody else. So I get super into it, and the assignment for me I took very seriously. Talk about obsessed. 4,000 years before Luke Skywalker, to me means, as someone who loves history, as someone who loves martial history, as someone who loves Star Wars, I'm like, I'm gonna get super into this. What do I make it look like? How do I make a culture? How do I make a galaxy that is authentically 4,000 years before the time that we know, and at the same time is still a Star Wars experience for the reader? So the logic for me was go work inside out. What does that mean? Inside out is a fun way to work. It's like Peter Jackson and Weta Workshop. Those guys work inside out, right? They're not just going to put knights on horseback. They're going to make them look. They're going to figure out an entire culture that would be on horseback in that world. Right? The dwarves aren't just dwarves. We've seen lots of fantasy dwarves, but we've never seen Gimli and the gang like they were as defined in the Lord of the Rings films, because they worked from the inside out. Why would this culture be like this? What would they have been inspired by? What is it to be a dwarf in a mountain and mining all the time? So I work like that. I like to know. So I went to Lucas's inspirations. Kurosawa. That literally is where my love for Kurosawa was born. And Flash Gordon, of course, because he loved those serials as a kid. And racing. He loved car racing. He loved to go really, really fast. And so I went to his inspiration, and I was like, okay, this is so cool. Obviously, Jedi used the lightsaber, right? But if you went 4,000 years ago, that lightsaber is going to take on different forms. It's not going to be, because there's all these different cultures from all over the galaxy. And as the Jedi reach them and they start to make lightsabers, those lightsabers are going to reflect their martial culture, not just this flashlight with a cool beam on the end. And so that's where it all comes from. To make a short story long, it all comes from this. It all comes from wanting to be like, hey, this is how I can possibly solve that problem of making it look ancient and at the same time connected to Star Wars. So there was a bow and arrow lightsaber system I worked out. There was a lightsaber on the end of a staff. There was the double-bladed one, obviously, and some other ones. And licensing was like, this is crazy. What are you doing? And I was like, 4,000 years. It's like, come on, you guys. It's so Kurosawa. Like, it's like, look, the samurai didn't use just a katana. As cool as the katana is, they used bows and arrows. They used staves. They used all this cool stuff. They didn't have just one weapon. And they were like, they didn't know what to do with it. So they were like, look, and I was very stubborn about it. I was like, you guys, I'm telling you, this is cool. I know it's giving you agita because you're marketing people, but I'm telling you, it's gonna be great. And licensing people. And so they said, okay, fine, you pain in the ass. Do a nice drawing of these weapons and we'll show them to George. And if George agrees with you, then you can keep them in the book. And that's what happened. I pulled my phone out of the wall. I spent all weekend drawing these lightsabers, and I submitted the lightsabers to licensing showed them to George, and George loved them. And I got the facts. I got the facts from Lucasfilm. My editor at Dark Horse Comics, who had championed me as well, like, normally anything that came down, normally any rejection from Lucasfilm licensing, Dark Horse was like, yes, sir. Like, no question, right? Like, yes, sir. We love your license. We love the money. Yes, sir. But I'm a pain in the tuchus. So I'm like, no, I push back. I'm like, no, you guys, this is so cool. I'm telling you, this is, I was a madman. And my editor, Dan Thorsland, God bless him, he stood by it. Barbara Kiesel was at Dark Horse at the time. She stood by Dan, who stood by me. And Richardson was like, what's happening with these Jedi stuff? What's going on? What's the problem? Oh, Gossett, he's a madman. But fortunately, George saw the logic in those blades and the anthropology of it all. And he's really an anthropologist. And the fact that I had done a little bit of amateur anthropology rung true for him. And that's where it all comes from. So sorry, Bobby, I know that was a really long story, but
that's awesome. I mean, I love hearing it. It's just incredible. Not only to have that type of opportunity and that type of like influence, but to get to do something like that you love to do, and then crush it.
Thank you.
It's like, not just do it, but did it really well.
Thanks.
Yeah,
good
that's
fun.
phenomenal. That is awesome.
It-
Want to know what's really cool is going to Galaxy's Edge with him, and because when he worked at Disney, he got free passes to go to Galaxy's Edge, which was really cool. So,
Mhm.
I got to go there once, and and going into the gift shop and seeing a whole wall of like whatever they sell there, and him pointing out like half a dozen things and going, "Oh, hey, I designed that. Oh, wow, I designed that too. What? Oh my god, and that." And yeah, that was really
It
cool.
was cool. It's really. And last year I got invited. Last year I got invited to this very cool Star Wars show, family show, like a fan driven, amazing little show in Burbank. One of the best shows I've ever been to, honestly. And it was all about the expanded universe. And man, they were so wonderful. And they told me not only is it the double bladed lightsaber, but there are all these other things from those early Tales of the Jedi books that are still being carried forward in the video games and in all kinds of ways. So that was really wonderful to see.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Kristen, I wanted to give you a chance to talk about, your current work. If there's anything, that you, other than the podcast and the Superfan podcast, that you want to tell folks about what it is you're doing or anything you have
Sure.
coming out.
Yeah. So I'm the executive editor of Nakama Press over at Mad Cave, which is a new manga line that they launched about a year ago. And I believe the first creator-owned book hit, which is called The Boyfriend, and it's by Seth Sherwood and Elisa Pachetta, and it's a horror book, and it's teen horror, and it's really super fun, and I love it, and I think it's coming out next week actually. Yeah, and so that's
Oh,
really
awesome.
super fun. Yeah, and I'm really happy about that. Yeah, and Chris's book is Cthulhu Town, and that's going to be hitting later on in fall. And so I'm really excited about that one. And yeah, that's pretty much what I've been working on. I also do only one title for the Mad Cave proper line, and that's Pop Kill. That's Dave Johnson and Jimmy Palmiotti. So I
Mhm.
work on that book. Um, and yeah, and that's pretty much all I've been working on. It's
Just my own manga line. That's all.
Yeah,
Just an entire
just
manga line.
yeah,
it's a lot of
yeah,
licensed properties over there. I
yeah,
work, on an Infinity Force with Tatsunoko, and a lot of stuff that I can't announce yet, which is,
yeah.
really big properties that I've been going through the translation process, and it's really cool and it's really awesome, and I love working on them, and it's a lot of books. I was on like 35 to 40 books by myself for a while there, and it was I was underwater.
I'm sorry, say that again.
35 to 40
Yeah,
books. Yeah.
that's a lot.
Yeah. I think
That's
I'm down to like 28 now. So
Oh,
that's still a lot.
it's like a
That's still
vacation. 28
that's
books,
still a lot.
please.
That still sounds like a lot.
yeah.
Well, we're
But
big.
it's fun. They're all great
Yeah.
books. I love them all.
I can't even handle my sock drawer.
Yeah.
She's doing 28 books.
It's pretty great. I really love it. I absolutely love all of them. I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see some of the creator-owned manga stuff because I have like a manga-sized hole in my comic reading. But my oldest daughter, she's Charlotte is 13, and I started I started her on comics and graphic novels, and she reads other stuff as well. But she kind of discovered manga like on her own and through friends, and so she has been. I've watched a couple of like animes with her, but I haven't gotten into the actual manga yet. But
Oh.
it's on my list to get to. She's been telling me she's into a new
Yeah.
series now. She's into a new series now. The summer Hikaru died, and so she wanted me to get into that. And she actually, I have a Nakama Press T-shirt that Mad Cave sent me, and she saw it the other day, and she's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Mad Cave's. It's their manga line." She goes, "What do they make?" And I'm like, "Well, let me tell you, I have a couple of books here."
Nice.
So
I like hearing
yeah,
that. You're in for a treat.
yeah. So I'm very excited about Mad Cave and the stuff that they're doing, and very
Yeah.
excited to see some of the creator and stuff coming out of Nakama Press. So
Awesome. Yeah. They're all great. I love them all. They're honestly,
yeah,
they're top notch. Yeah. Every single one. Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
David, David, are you still here?
I am still here. What anime did you watch with your daughter?
The I watched a couple episodes of that of the one that she's reading as well. The summer Hikaru died.
I've heard of that one.
I mean, I guess some of the ones for younger kids, like My Hero Academia, she was into, and then there was another one after that. Was it? I don't think it was Bleach. It was. I can't remember the name of it.
I almost watched Bleach
Um,
on the flight here. It was a short flight. I was like, I'll watch a couple episodes of Bleach. Why not?
I'm such a manga freak and an anime freak. I've been watching anime since Star Blazers, like all the way back. It's just
oh
such
yeah,
stuff.
everything that I've just it wasn't anything that I got into when I was younger, but everything I've watched with her has been, I don't know, really enjoyed it.
So
There were
good.
some of those Star Wars Visions episodes that were very like
Yeah,
anime
very
influenced, which
very cool. Yeah.
I thought were really great. But I'll take recommendations. So I'll,
Which hat atelier?
okay,
Which
I've
hat
heard of that
atelier?
one. I have not watched it.
Oh my god, I
All right,
haven't
so
watched it. I've only been in the book so far, but a friend of mine is
okay,
watching the shows and he says it's fantastic. So I got to see that.
Really
all
good.
right,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right. I'll put it right to the top of the list.
Mm.
And if you're a great way to discover new manga is to listen to the Manga Splitting podcast, because it is for people who it is set up for Chip Zdarsky as someone who, when the podcast started, had not read any manga at all. And so that is the lens that every episode is structured around. So I
Oh,
discovered so many great series based on that. Highly recommended.
awesome.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like that would be a great entry for me into manga and a way to bond with my 13-year-old who desperately runs from anything I suggest. I have to like run a psyop every time I want her to check anything out. So it's great.
Oh my oh, that's so funny. My daughter's 19 and I know what you mean.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like she's a great kid and
Of course.
she's you know sh- she's really smart and
Individuation,
she
man. Individuation. It's a
yeah,
beautiful.
has all her stuff. Like they are not like Star Wars was my thing as a kid and like they are not into it. Neither of my children. We went to Disney World like in 2 years ago in 24 and I was excited to go to like Galaxy's Edge and they just not their thing, not at all. I actually there was another website I wrote for called Gate Crashers, and when they were doing stuff for like May the 4th for Star Wars Day, and I wrote an article called "Rise of Their Resistance," how my kids don't want nothing to do with Star Wars, and
Oh, that's
but I
classic.
never wanted to be one of those dads that was like the sport dad, but with nerd stuff. So
Yeah, yeah.
I've been like, look, I can't force it on them. I can't push it on them. They're
Yeah.
not into it. I just have to hope that when they find something they are passionate about, they, let me into their world a little bit.
Mhm.
Star Wars is one of those things you never know when you can catch the Star Wars bug. My daughter was the same. Didn't give a darn about Star Wars for so long. And then at one point she was just like into it. There was a
Yeah.
friend that was into it, brought her into it, and that was it. Now she's just completely a Star Wars person. I never thought it would happen.
Hmm.
Yeah. You never know. There's so much stuff out there. There are things that they do like, they when they were kids, we had the golden books for each movie, so they're at least,
Oh, how
you
cute.
know, on some level familiar with the story. So I'm like, all right, I'll take my wins where I can get them, you
Yeah,
know?
no doubt.
Yeah.
So, David, is there anything else that you have coming out or coming up that you wanted to tell folks about?
Oh gosh, it's a I will say that it's a very busy time for her super fan, and then it's just an amazing time to be a comic book fan, right? There's an explosion of um, not only like really high level books, but books that like I'm just so excited to get a chance to read. So we've been talking about manga and the anime. I'm a huge fan of Pluto. Jimmy is probably the manga I would recommend to you to read because it is definitely something that someone who likes, say, Watchmen would gravitate towards.
Mm.
It is a murder mystery where someone is killing the world's smartest robots. It is a retelling of a classic, oh my gosh, now I just blanked. Astro Boy,
Osamu
storyline.
Tezuka.
Yes, thank you. And
Nice.
this is gorgeous, gorgeous storytelling. And I became a huge fan of Urasawa. And he had this book called Billy Bat, which I kept hearing about, but it was not available in the US for many, many years. And it seemed like it was never going to come over. And it is being released next month. So, as a fan, the fact that I got to read it months early, the fact that I'm getting to work on it, and to help like bring more readers to discover his work is like tremendously exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I will check that out.
David
Yeah,
lives
it's
next
a great.
to. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What was that, Christian?
I was just gonna say David lives near one of the best comic book stores in Los Angeles. How are they doing, David? That place, such a good store. We went in there and spent a
Oh,
fort.
Secret Headquarters is such a fantastic store.
Okay,
And when
yeah.
we moved to LA, it's in a different location and it was down the street from where I lived and I could walk there. And then I moved to Atwater and Secret Headquarters moved to Atwater. So I feel it feels like a nice thank you from the universe.
That's so cool.
That's
I didn't
awesome.
know that.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Well, Jimmy, this has
Oh,
been
well-
amazing. Thank you for being a great host today.
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy.
Oh, well, I'm just doing the best I can with the little I have, David. I really appreciate your patience today as we made our way through this. But yes, listeners, please check out the Superfan Podcast. It is a really great format. You're not only going to discover something you didn't know about a creator that you love, but you might discover something that you love yourself, and it's really a wonderful conversation that they have with these different creators. And so thank you very much, David, Christian, and Kristen. I really appreciate all your time today. I'll have a link in the show notes so you can follow them on social media and you can check out and subscribe to the Superfan Podcast. And so, listeners, thank you very much for listening. I'll see you next time, and good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.